All right, welcome Esterbrook students, welcome YCS schools. This is Mrs. Schwartz coming to you live from my basement. I would like to introduce you to another activity that I'm doing here in my home. This one is how to draw an octopus. You can follow along with my video. If you would like to go at your own speed, you can follow along with the drawing that I've included in this video. The drawing shows a step-by-step how to draw the character, and I am going to be drawing with the following tools. I am going to be using a regular number 2 pencil. I'm going to be using a Sharpie marker. I am going to be using a gray marker for some of the details that I'm going to be using. I am going to be using a regular ruler, a 12-inch ruler. If you have something shorter, that's fine. Just make sure that you're following the inch marks on the side of the ruler. The only time I'm really going to use this is when I want to make sure that I'm making everything fit on the page. I want to make sure that I have enough space for the character that he's going to fit on the page. So I'm going to put that off to the side. And I'm also going to be using my pink eraser to clean up and erase any of the marks that I don't want to keep on the page. So without further ado, I'm going to move the supplies off to the side and I'm going to begin. So I want to make sure nothing is underneath my paper before I start. I did go ahead and draw a circle in the center of my paper. I did that to begin because I want my character to be in the center of my paper. You do not have to put that on your paper if you don't want to. I did that by just simply taking a circle bowl and tracing it on my paper. I put it in the center and I took a pencil and I traced around. That was left over from one of my other activities, my previous activity of how to make a mandala, and I'm now putting that off to the side. So step number 1, I am going to leave my little markers here so I can make sure everything is in the camera view. Now I know for a fact that my pencil marks tend not to show up on camera, and that seems to be a hard thing. So I want to make sure that my marks are showing up clearly. And my first mark that I'm going to do is going to be at the top of the octopus's head. It's going to be somewhere about there. The second one is going to be his cheek marks. They're about here. And they're going to go in somewhere about right here. And the part just under his eyes. They're going to go somewhere about here. Now you can change this, you can alter him at any point in time that you want to. I am simply going to follow the design that I've created, but each time I draw this, it's going to change a little bit. So this is step 1 right here. Step 2, you can see with the drawing, it's in pink. I am simply adding a couple of lines. I'm going to add a big curve up here. I'm going to connect it to where my pencil line already was. I'm going to make a curve on the other side, a similar one, connecting with the other side. And I might be better at drawing with the curve on the left than I am with the curve on my right. So if you need to turn your paper to get that curve correct, go ahead and turn your paper. And again, my little papers don't want to stay put, so I am going to open up one of my drawers before I get too far, get out my magical tape, tape down my markings so I can keep those in place because they do not want to stay put. So The wonderful thing about being on camera is you got to think about a little bit of everything. All right, so I have those marks in place. I'm going to start putting in his eyes. Now, one of the things that makes cartooning so great is that the characters' faces. I want to make this character have huge eyes, kind of like Tweety Bird. I want his eyes to be really, really big. I want his eyes to be a little on the boxy side. I want them to be just as tall on the left side as they are going to be on the right. And I want them to connect to that line. Okay, now coming outside of this circle, I want them to come up pretty high. I'm going to make a little spiral here. And I'm going to make it curve down and connect to that line. I'm going to erase this one. And I know that the eraser on my pencil does not work very well. So I need to keep reminding myself to use the pink eraser that I have, because I happen to know from trial and error that the ones on my pencils seem to leave pink or orange marks. So I am going to take the line here, and I'm going to connect from where the spiral is, and I'm going to start out narrow, and as it comes closer to the octopus, I'm going to make it wider, and I'm going to stop. Notice my lines are nice and light. I'm going to leave them nice and light. I am going to make another arm here. I'm going to make it come out maybe to about here. I will start the spiral, and I will make it come around and connect. Maybe I'll connect it here. Okay, I'm erasing. I'm going to make it come around. So even though I've created this character before, you can see I'm still having a little bit of difficulty making it the way I made it the first time. Actually, this is my third time creating it, because the first time I did it on line paper. And I was watching my son create all kinds of characters and how easy it comes to him to create characters. And I am all shy about creating characters, and I'm so into my realistic drawings, and cartoon characters come so naturally to him. But for me, it doesn't seem as easy. All right, so now I'm going to create another arm. I'm going to make this one come over here. It's going to start as a spiral. It's going to come around and stop. I'm going to make this one come down and around and come up. Come around and go up. All right, so now I need another one over here. One, two, curl around. And come up. So last time I had the paper going the tall way. This time, because of my camera view, I have it going the wide way. You can change which way your view is going to be, which way your paper is going, so you have room for the long leg, or you can just do what I'm going to do and change where that last leg is going to go. All right, so over here, I'm going to make this one come down and come around. I actually want it to connect out here. All right. So now I have to decide, do I want to have that other arm here? Decide which one is in front and which one is in back. Okay, so next we've got the eyes in here. I want to add those circles. I'm going to add a nice big one down here. I'm going to add a small one up top, a nice big one down here, a small one up here. Okay, and I'm going to start adding a mouth. Now, an octopus normally has its mouth down at the very bottom. It has a beak instead of a mouth like my character has. Its mouth would be down at the bottom underneath its tentacles. But because that wouldn't make for as cute of a character, in my opinion, I decided to give it an actual mouth on the side of its face. I think that adds to a cuter character. You decide what you think. Do you think it's better not to have a mouth on his face, or do you want to create a different mouth for your character? It's all your opinion, and your opinion matters. You decide what you feel comfortable with and create a character that you like. Maybe you want to make the eyes differently than mine. I tend to like the anime eyes that are big, and I wanted to do something like this. At the same time, I like cutesy and playful. I'm not into all of the serious stuff. Life is too short to have everything very, very serious all the time. So for this guy, I thought it was important, since he's an under the sea character, I thought it was really important for him to have a boat that he just snatched out of the water. So in his hand, he has a sailboat. And it has 2 masts on it. I'm going to again take my pink eraser, and I'm going to erase the parts that I don't want to see. Again, I want this guy to be, this character to be in front of that circle. And I'm going to add a sailor's hat to him. He should have a little curve here. It should bump out like this, bump out like this. It should follow the same curve here. Because we can't see the whole back of it, we're just going to see parts of it. So a little curve like this, bump in a little, bump in a little. And because we don't want to see his head, we're going to erase that line. we're going to draw a new line in. This line goes here. All right, let's count his tentacles. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. An octopus has 8. So I'm missing one. I need to have one going right here. I'm going to start this little hump going here. I'm going to curve it down and make it come around. I'm going to have it come back. And make it connect. Okay, so now I have all of the legs. I have all of the lines. I'm going to outline it, and then I'm going to add some shadows to it with some just regular number 2 pencil for the shadows. I'll show you what I'm going to do for outlining it. The outlining is pretty straightforward. You need a Sharpie marker. Only outline the marks you want to keep. You can always go back and erase lines if you didn't put them where you want them. Save that for after you're done doing the Sharpie. You might decide in the middle that you want to use some of those lines, so don't worry too much about it just yet. I'm going to decide while I'm doing this which of these marks I want to keep. Maybe I want to keep that pencil line even though it's there. I want to use some of this, but I want to make that thicker. So I'm going to shade this part in, and I'm going to make that line nice and thick, from thin to thick down here. Okay, for here, because it's the side of his head, I want to make this a thicker line. So let's say, Miss Schwartz, I don't have a Sharpie marker. What do I do if I want to make thick lines? You can do this with a pencil. You can do this with a regular marker. I like the look that it has, but I don't want to do that. What could I do? You could do this with shading. You can do this with hatching or cross hatching. Hatching, again, is when you're taking your pencil and you're just simply drawing little lines that are going sideways. So if I was to show you on a scrap piece of paper, a paper right here, this is hatching. Remember, I showed you that hatching is when you're making lines to make a shadow on something. If this is my object and I want to make shadows on this ball, now I've made a shadow. Well, Ms. Schwartz, I want to do that, but I want to have a little bit more variation. What can I do? Well, I can do cross hatching. Cross hatching is when you're taking the lines and you're putting them in one direction and then the other. So if I was doing the same thing, I'm going to put both directions. Now you have cross hatching. All right, do that to the shading of your octopus, and that's what I did for the shading of mine, but I did it with the number 2 pencil. Okay, so I'm going to speed this along. I will finish the outlining of the octopus with the Sharpie marker, and then I will stop to show you what I did with the Sharpie. And while you are working on yours, keep going at it. Come back and see what I did, And then I will show you again the steps of how to do the shading with the pencil, and you can check back with me to see how yours looks, compare and contrast. Remember, you are your own artist. It does not have to look the same. You do not even have to do the same character. All I'm asking is that you do the best that you can do. Show me the artist that you are. And of course, you are great artists, each and every one of you. We are going to share these when we are in our Google Classrooms or during our Zoom meetings. If you have any questions, I'm always here to help you. If you have any suggestions, my ears are always open to hear everything you have to offer. So please share everything you got, because if you have a question about it, chances are another student has that same question too. Looking forward to hearing from you. Looking forward to seeing you in our Zoom meetings. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Okay, so now I've finished doing all of my outlines to my octopus, and I'm ready to put in some details of shadows. If you want to stop here, this is a good stopping point. If you have the information of how to do shadows and you can challenge yourself to do a little more, this is a good place to put in some extra effort. For most of my third graders, fourth graders, and fifth graders, we've been putting in value scales into many of our pieces. If you have not done so yet, this is a good place to put in that effort and learn how to do it. Value scales is something that you're going to be using for many years in art. It's not that hard to do. It's just a matter of using a number 2 pencil or using different values, different levels of dark and light of your colors. So we already know that black is as dark as you can get. Gray is a lighter value of black. White is as light as you can get. What we need are some values that are in the middle. So if I was going to use a piece of paper and I was going to show you on here, this is as dark as I could get, and I could press a little bit lighter. Just pressing, using pressure with my pencil. The same pencil can make all these different values. Pressing a little lighter with my pencil. And it might be a little hard to see, but if I turn the paper, you can start to see the difference. If these values here in these boxes start to seem too much alike, then go back and make one a little bit darker than the one before it. All right, so now in this box, a little lighter. These two are very similar. Maybe I can go back and lighten one up. See the difference? And right away I started out too light. Sometimes light with a number 2 pencil is hard to do, but just think of it as you're tickling the paper. Okay. I'm cheating a little because I'm using my finger to go back over and rub it, but you can see right away that I can make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different values with one pencil. Okay, they are different, and you can make more than that if you really wanted to try. So with those different values, what can you do with shading in your octopus? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use these values. I'm going to use them to shade in my octopus. I might just use a couple of them. I might just use 7, 4, and 2, and then leave some parts white. But I'm going to try and use a couple of those values in this octopus to see how I can shade him in and give him a little bit more interest, like the one in my example. Can you do that too? Let's see what you did. Show them in our next meeting. Show them when we have our individual meetings. I'm really interested to see what you come up with. Thanks for trying. And no matter what it is you create, have fun doing it. Thank you very much. So I have reached the end of this drawing. The hardest part about being any kind of an artist is knowing when to quit. I could always keep drawing and drawing and drawing and perfecting this, but I'm going to call this one done. You could probably look at it and say, well, Ms. Schwartz, you could have left this out or you could have added this into it. And that's part of being an artist, is deciding what you want to do to it and what you want to change it, how you want to change it, what you want to do to yours to make it different, make it better, make it your own. And those are all decisions that every artist has to make. I have decided to do this to mine. It's obviously different than what I did the first time. I also forgot to add the freckles onto the octopus and add the eyebrows in when I was doing my demonstration. You know, it's a work in progress. Each time I do a drawing, I end up making a new way of doing it, and I'm trying to create an artwork that I did previously, but each time I do it, it comes out a little bit different, and that's part of doing art, is creating a new piece each and every time you do it. I'm going to stop here with this one to see what you guys have created, and I hope that if this is not one that you've really wanted to do, that you show me something that is exactly what you wanted to create. It does not have to be a duplicate of what I have done. I would be much happier if you've created something that is something you enjoy. So show me when we have our meetings what you've come up with. And thanks again for watching.